Have you ever woken from a dream so vivid, so intensely real, that for a fleeting moment you questioned which world was the true one? What if I told you that feeling wasn't just a trick of your mind, but a whisper from a reality far grander than you can imagine, a reality you visit every single night? We tuck ourselves into bed, close our eyes, and assume we are simply shutting down for maintenance. But where do we go? If your body is lying motionless, who is the one falling, flying, or living out entire lifetimes in the theater of your mind? Tonight, we are not just talking about dreams. We are embarking on a journey to the very edge of human experience to ask one of the most profound questions ever conceived. Does our consciousness actually leave the body during sleep? Our journey begins with the familiar sensation of drifting off. The day's worries begin to fade. The sounds of the outside world recede, and our hold on physical reality loosens. This nightly surrender is a universal human experience, yet it remains one of our greatest mysteries. While neuroscience has made incredible strides, mapping the intricate electrical storms that sweep across our brains during REM sleep, it stops short of explaining the most crucial part: the subjective, first-person experience of being in the dream. Science can show us the how, the neural firings, the chemical releases, but it cannot fully explain the who. Who is this silent observer, this protagonist of our own inner epics? This gap in our understanding isn't a failure of science, but rather an invitation to look deeper. It suggests a breathtaking possibility: that our consciousness, the very essence of who we are, might not be a mere byproduct of our biology. Instead, it could be something more fundamental, something that is temporarily tethered to our physical form, but not permanently confined by it. Think of your body as a sophisticated vehicle. During the day, you are firmly in the driver's seat, navigating the physical world through its senses. But when you sleep, you park the car, and the driver, your consciousness, is free to step out and explore a different landscape altogether. This isn't a New Age fantasy. It is an ancient intuition, a piece of wisdom echoed across cultures and throughout human history, suggesting that sleep is not an end to awareness, but a transition into a different state of being. Long before the advent of brain scanners and sleep labs, our ancestors looked upon sleep with a sense of awe and reverence. They didn't see it as a period of inactivity, but as a sacred and vital journey. Across continents and millennia, a strikingly consistent belief emerges: that during sleep, a part of us becomes untethered, venturing into realms unseen. Consider the ancient Egyptians, meticulous architects of both life and the afterlife. For them, the soul wasn't a single entity, but a composite of different parts, each with its own function. One of these was the Ba, often depicted as a human-headed bird. The Egyptians believed that while the physical body, the Khat, rested, the Ba could fly free from its confines. It would journey through the Duat, the spiritual realm, interacting with gods, demons, and the spirits of the deceased. This nightly sojourn was considered essential for the soul's health and for receiving divine guidance. The Ba was expected to return to the body each morning, reanimating it and bringing with it wisdom from the other side. This belief wasn't just mythology. It was a core component of their understanding of existence, shaping their art, their rituals, and their intricate preparations for death, which they viewed as the final, permanent journey of the soul. Travel across the globe to the Australian continent, and you encounter the rich traditions of the Aboriginal peoples and their concept of the Brai, dream time, or the dreaming. This is not dream time in the sense of something imaginary. For them, the dream time is a foundational reality, an eternal and uncreated dimension where the great ancestral spirits shape the world as we know it. Indigenous traditions hold that when they sleep, their spirit can travel into this sacred, timeless space. It is a place of connection, where they can commune with their ancestors, relive ancient stories, and gain profound insights into the laws that govern both the spiritual and physical worlds. The knowledge gained during these dream journeys is not seen as fantasy. It is considered direct, experiential wisdom that informs their social structures, their art, and their deep custodial relationship with the land. The dream is a bridge, a living conduit to the very source of their creation. Now let's journey to the heart of ancient India, where the philosophical traditions of Hinduism and the Upanishads offer one of the most sophisticated analyses of consciousness ever developed. These texts describe four primary states of being: Vaishvanara, the waking state, engaged with the external world; Taijasa, the dreaming state, where consciousness turns inward; Prajna, the state of deep, dreamless sleep, a unified and blissful consciousness; and Turiya, the fourth state, pure awareness, which underlies and transcends the other three. In the dreaming state, or Taijasa, the self, or Atman, is said to withdraw from the physical senses and create its own world from the impressions of waking life. It is a journey inward, a subtle exploration of the mind's own landscape. This wasn't seen as random neural firing, but as a meaningful state where the soul could process, learn, and experience reality on a different plane. What is so staggering about these diverse perspectives, from the Egyptian Ba to the Aboriginal Dreamtime to the Hindu Taijasa, is their fundamental agreement. Separated by vast oceans and entire epochs of history, these cultures independently arrived at the same conclusion. Sleep is a form of travel. They all intuited that the conscious self is not extinguished when the body rests, but is instead liberated to journey through other layers of existence. This universal human intuition poses a powerful challenge to our modern, purely materialistic view of the world. It suggests we may have forgotten an ancient truth, a truth we can still access every time we close our eyes. This ancient wisdom isn't just a relic of the past. It finds a powerful echo in the extraordinary experiences of people living today. While the language may have changed from soul travel to altered states of consciousness, the core phenomenon remains the same. Two of the most compelling modern examples are lucid dreaming and the even more profound out-of-body experience, OBE. Let's first consider lucid dreaming. This is the remarkable state in which you become aware that you are dreaming, while you are still in the dream. Suddenly the script is gone. You are no longer a passive actor in a bizarre play directed by your subconscious. You are the director. You can choose to fly over mountains, conjure magnificent cities from thin air, or converse with the characters in your dream, knowing they are projections of your own mind. This experience shatters the wall between the conscious and subconscious. But more importantly, it proves that awareness can be fully active, rational, and present, even when the physical body is completely asleep and disconnected from sensory input. If your brain can generate a stable, conscious you that can think and act deliberately within a dreamscape, it begs the question, how separate is that you from the brain itself? The lucid dreamer is a conscious agent operating in a non-physical environment, a direct modern parallel to the shamans and mystics of old, who claim to journey into other worlds. Now let's take it a step further into the territory of the out-of-body experience, OBE. This is a phenomenon reported by countless individuals from all walks of life, often with no prior spiritual or metaphysical beliefs. The experience typically begins with a feeling of intense vibrations or a rushing sound, followed by the distinct sensation of separating from the physical body. People describe floating near the ceiling, looking down with a sense of peaceful detachment at their own sleeping form in the bed below. The clarity of these experiences is often described as being more real than real, hyper-vivid and hyper-aware in a way that waking life is not. What makes these accounts so compelling is their consistency. Across different cultures, ages, and belief systems, the core details remain strikingly similar. The initial vibrations, the feeling of floating, the perception of a subtle body, and the calm, objective observation of one's physical self. During waking life, our entire sense of identity is anchored by our physical senses. We see through our eyes, hear through our ears, and feel through our skin. Our consciousness is filtered through this biological apparatus. But during sleep, and especially during an OBE, these senses are shut down. Yet, consciousness doesn't vanish. It not only persists but transforms, experiencing a reality from a perspective that should be impossible. This raises an incredible paradigm-shifting possibility, that consciousness is more fundamental than the body it inhabits. It may use the body as a vessel, an anchor in this physical reality, but it is not created by it, and ultimately not confined to it. The body may be the boat, but consciousness is the sailor, capable of leaving the vessel to explore the vast ocean of existence. Mainstream science, for the most part, has a straightforward explanation for these phenomena. They are simply tricks of the brain. A lucid dream is just a particular state of neural activation. An out-of-body experience is a complex hallucination caused by a temporary breakdown in the brain's ability to integrate sensory information and generate a stable sense of self. From this perspective, the brain is a biological computer, and consciousness is the software it runs. When the hardware glitches, as it might during the transition between sleep and wakefulness, the software produces bizarre outputs. This is a neat and tidy explanation, but it runs into a very significant obstacle: the hard problem of consciousness. This term, coined by philosopher David Chalmers, refers to the deep, unanswered question of how and why physical processes in the brain, neurons firing, chemicals flowing, give rise to subjective, first-person experience. We can map which parts of the brain light up when you see the color red, but we have absolutely no idea how that neural activity creates the feeling, the actual qualitative experience, of redness. There is a profound explanatory gap between the objective, physical processes of the brain and the subjective, immaterial reality of consciousness. This unsolved mystery has opened the door to a revolutionary counter-argument, a theory that flips the entire paradigm on its head. What if the brain doesn't create consciousness at all? What if, instead, it acts as a receiver, a filter, or a transceiver for a consciousness that is universal and exists independently of it? This is often called the receiver or filter theory of consciousness. Imagine a television. It receives broadcast signals that are already permeating the airwaves and translates them into a picture and sound. The television doesn't create the show. It simply decodes it. If you damage the television, the picture might become distorted, or it might disappear altogether. But you haven't destroyed the broadcast signal, which continues to exist. In this analogy, the brain is the television, and universal consciousness is the broadcast signal. Our individual consciousness is the specific channel that our brain is tuned to. From this perspective, sleep takes on an entirely new meaning. When we are awake, the brain's filter is tight. Its primary job is to focus our awareness on the immediate physical environment for our survival. It filters out the vast majority of information to create a simple, stable, manageable reality. But when we sleep, this survival mechanism is no longer needed. The brain's filter loosens, its grip on physical reality softens. This allows our receiver, our brain, to tune into other channels, other frequencies of reality that are normally inaccessible. Dreams, lucid dreams, and OBEs might be what we experience when our consciousness begins to access these other signals. The dream world isn't just a fabrication of the brain. It's a glimpse into another layer of existence, a different broadcast that our awareness is temporarily tuned to. This model doesn't dismiss neuroscience. It incorporates it. The brain is still crucially important as the biological mechanism that allows us to experience consciousness in this physical form. But it is no longer the creator of the ghost in the machine. It is the machine that allows the ghost to interact with this world. Perhaps the most dramatic and compelling evidence for consciousness existing beyond the brain comes from the threshold of life and death itself, the near-death experience, NDE. These are the profound psychological events reported by people who have been clinically dead, with no heartbeat and no measurable brain activity, and have subsequently been revived. What they report is not a void of darkness, but a vivid, structured, and often life-changing journey. The accounts are remarkably consistent across the globe. People often describe the sensation of leaving their physical body, watching from above as doctors and nurses work to resuscitate them. They can often recall specific details of the scene, conversations, medical instruments, the actions of their loved ones, that they could not have possibly known through their physical senses, which were, by all medical definitions, offline. Following this, many report traveling through a tunnel towards a brilliant, loving light. They describe meeting deceased relatives or benevolent spiritual beings and undergoing a life review, where they re-experience their entire lives from a panoramic and deeply empathetic perspective. These experiences are not chaotic or hallucinatory. They are logical, coherent, and have a profound and lasting impact, almost universally removing the fear of death and instilling a deep sense of purpose and interconnectedness. The key challenge NDEs pose to the materialist view is the timing. These complex, lucid experiences are often reported to have occurred when the brain was in a state of severe dysfunction, such as during cardiac arrest, where brain activity ceases within seconds. If the brain creates consciousness, how can a non-functioning brain produce the most vivid and meaningful experience of a person's life? The parallels between NDEs and the OBEs reported during sleep are striking. Both involve a separation of awareness from the physical body, a heightened sense of reality, and a perspective that is independent of biological senses. This suggests that consciousness may be able to operate not just when the brain is in a different state, like sleep, but even when it is not functioning at all. This seemingly impossible idea finds intriguing, though speculative, support from the strange world of quantum physics. At the quantum level, the solid, predictable world we perceive dissolves into a shimmering sea of probabilities. Particles can be in multiple places at once, and their state is not fixed until it is observed. This fundamental role of the observer has led some pioneering physicists and thinkers to propose that consciousness might not be a late-stage product of biological evolution, but rather a fundamental property of the universe itself, woven into the fabric of space-time. Theories like the orchestrated objective reduction, ORC-OR model, proposed by Sir Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff, suggest that consciousness arises from quantum processes occurring within the microtubules of brain cells. While highly debated, such theories open the door to the possibility that consciousness is a non-local quantum phenomenon. If this is true, then consciousness wouldn't be strictly confined to the brain. It wouldn't be destroyed when the body rests or even when it dies. Instead, the quantum information that constitutes our consciousness would simply change form, released from its biological container to exist in a more fundamental state. While this is at the frontier of scientific exploration, it provides a potential framework for understanding how awareness could persist beyond the death of the brain, lending a fascinating modern resonance to the ancient spiritual belief in the immortality of the soul. Our entire experience of reality is a construction. It is never direct. Your brain is sealed inside the dark, silent vault of your skull. It has no direct access to the outside world. All the information it receives comes in the form of electrochemical signals from your sensory organs. Based on this limited stream of data, it builds a virtual model of the world, a seamless, real-time simulation that you experience as reality. The vibrant colors, the rich sounds, the solid feel of the world around you. It's all a masterpiece of neural rendering. If our waking life is already a virtual reality, a mental construct, then what are dreams and out-of-body experiences? They might simply be shifts to a different virtual model, one that isn't constrained by the slow, predictable data stream from our physical senses. When the senses shut down during sleep, the brain, or consciousness itself, is free to construct realities based on a different set of rules. A crucial clue to this lies in how time behaves in these states. In the physical world, time marches forward with relentless, linear consistency. But in a dream, this rule is completely abandoned. You can experience events that seem to last for hours, days, or even entire lifetimes, only to wake up and find that a mere 5 minutes have passed on your alarm clock. This incredible elasticity of time is a hallmark of non-physical states. It suggests that when consciousness detaches from the biological clock of the body and brain, it enters a dimension where time, as we know it, is not a fundamental law. Think about it from a practical standpoint. When you're engrossed in a fantastic movie or a great book, time seems to speed up. When you're bored or in pain, it slows to a crawl. Our subjective experience of time is already malleable, even in the waking state. Dreams and OBEs simply take this to the extreme. This experience of non-linear time is also a common feature of NDEs and deep meditative states. It points to a profound possibility, that our linear perception of past, present, and future is a feature of our physical brain's processing, a tool designed to help us navigate this specific dimension. When consciousness steps outside of that processing system, it may experience reality from a more holistic, timeless perspective, where all moments exist simultaneously. This malleability of perception challenges our most basic assumptions about what is real. We tend to grant waking reality a privileged status, dismissing dreams as mere fantasy. But if both are constructs of consciousness, who is to say which one is more fundamental? The feeling of being more real than real in an OBE or a lucid dream could be a sign that we are experiencing a reality that is actually closer to the source, a reality less filtered and less constrained than the one our physical senses allow. These nightly excursions into the landscapes of the mind are not just random, meaningless neurological events. They are often profoundly meaningful, acting as a source of creativity, healing, and personal transformation. Many people awaken from a particularly vivid dream with the solution to a complex problem they've been wrestling with, a burst of artistic inspiration, or a renewed sense of clarity and purpose about their life's direction. History is filled with examples of groundbreaking discoveries that were born in dreams. The German chemist August Kekulé famously struggled for years to understand the structure of the benzene molecule. Then, one evening, he dreamt of a snake seizing its own tail. He awoke with a start, realizing that the benzene molecule must be a closed ring, a revolutionary insight that became a cornerstone of organic chemistry. Paul McCartney has said the melody for the Beatles' classic song, "Yesterday," came to him, fully formed in a dream. Mary Shelley's Gothic masterpiece, Frankenstein, was inspired by a terrifying waking dream she had. These are not mere coincidences. They suggest that when our conscious, analytical mind gets out of the way, our awareness is able to access a deeper, more holistic intelligence. When we detach from the rigid logic and limitations of our physical existence, we may be connecting to a vast reservoir of information, a creative field that some might call the collective unconscious, the superconscious, or the universal mind. This process can be incredibly healing. Nightmares, while terrifying, can be the psyche's way of processing trauma, bringing our deepest fears to the surface so they can be faced and integrated. Dreams can offer us profound symbolic insights into our relationships, our careers, and our spiritual paths, acting as a form of nightly therapy, guided by our own inner wisdom. People who have regular lucid dreams or out-of-body experiences often report significant and lasting positive changes in their lives. They frequently experience a dramatic reduction in anxiety, especially the fear of death. Having directly experienced their awareness as something separate from their physical body, The concept of death transforms from an endpoint into a transition. This first-hand knowledge brings a sense of peace and a deeper appreciation for the preciousness of their waking life. They often feel a greater sense of connection to others and to the universe as a whole, understanding that we are all more than just our physical forms. This transformative power indicates that these experiences are not mere figments of imagination. They are significant realities in their own right. They are opportunities for growth, discovery, and profound healing. They suggest that every night we are given a chance to disconnect from our limited ego-based identity and reconnect with a vaster, more intelligent part of ourselves. Our nightly journeys are not an escape. They are a homecoming. They are a reminder that the answers we seek are often not in the outside world, but in the vast, unexplored territory within. This remarkable ability of consciousness to detach from its physical anchor is not limited to the state of sleep. A wide range of altered states, achieved through deliberate practice or intense experience, can produce the same sense of separation from the physical body, revealing the incredible flexibility of our awareness. Consider the practice of deep meditation. For millennia, practitioners from various traditions have described reaching states where the sense of a separate, individual self dissolves. In these states, the constant chatter of the mind ceases, and the boundary between the I and the rest of the universe melts away. They report a feeling of merging with a boundless, peaceful awareness, a pure consciousness that is not located in any particular place. This isn't just subjective feeling. Modern neuroscience has begun to validate these ancient claims. Brain imaging studies of experienced meditators show a significant quieting of activity in the brain's default mode network, particularly in regions associated with self-referential thought and the processing of one's personal identity. In essence, the parts of the brain that scream, me, me, all day long finally go quiet, allowing for a different kind of perception to emerge. The meditator, through sheer force of focus, achieves what sleep does naturally. They loosen the grip of the ego and the senses, allowing consciousness to experience its own unbound nature. Shamans in indigenous cultures around the world have historically used techniques like rhythmic drumming, chanting, or psychotropic plants to enter trance states. In these states, they claim to journey into non-ordinary realities, what they often call the spirit world or the upper and lower worlds, to retrieve information, seek guidance from spirits, or perform acts of healing. From a modern psychological perspective, this could be seen as a deep dive into the subconscious. But for the shamans themselves, these are not internal psychological events. They are literal journeys. They experience themselves leaving their bodies and traveling to other dimensions that have their own distinct geographies and inhabitants. These journeys are remarkably consistent in their structure and purpose, showing that consciousness, when its grip on sensory reality is loosened, can be intentionally directed to explore other realms of experience. Even in everyday life, we can experience mild forms of this detachment. Think of an athlete who is in the zone, a musician lost in their performance, or a scientist having a eureka moment. In these states of intense focus, or flow, the sense of self often recedes, and time seems to distort. The actor is no longer separate from the action. This dissolution of the self into a larger awareness is a key characteristic of non-physical states. All of these examples, from the meditator's silence to the shaman's trance to the athlete's flow, point to the same fundamental truth. Our body is more of an anchor than a container. Our consciousness is not rigidly fixed within our skulls. It is a flexible, dynamic field of awareness that can shift its focus, expand its boundaries, and journey far beyond its physical limitations whenever its tight grip on ordinary sensory reality is relaxed. For those who have delved deeply into the exploration of non-physical states, particularly through the practice of conscious out-of-body travel, often called astral projection, a fascinating and specific set of details emerges. Practitioners describe the experience of consciously willing their awareness to separate from their physical form. They often speak of having a second, more subtle body, an astral body, or energy body, which is the vehicle for their consciousness in these other realms. This subtle body is not a ghost. It is described as a fully formed replica of the physical self, albeit one made of a finer, more ethereal substance. One of the most enigmatic and consistently reported details of these experiences is the silver cord. Many who claim to have had conscious OBEs report seeing a luminous, elastic, and incredibly strong cord of light that connects their floating astral body to their physical body. This cord is often described as originating from the back of the head or the solar plexus area. It is seen as a lifeline, a tether that ensures the traveler can always find their way back to their physical form. The image of this silver cord is not a modern invention. It appears in diverse spiritual and esoteric traditions stretching back millennia, including in the writings of Neoplatonists, Rosicrucians, and in Hindu and Taoist philosophies. The biblical book of Ecclesiastes contains a cryptic passage that some interpret as a reference to it. Or ever the silver cord be loosed, or the golden bowl be broken, then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. The sheer consistency of this detail across thousands of independent accounts is staggering. People with no prior knowledge of esoteric traditions describe this silver cord in intricate detail. While science remains deeply skeptical, dismissing it as a product of expectation or a symbolic representation of the connection to the body, for those who experience it, it is unequivocally real. It suggests that the process of consciousness detaching from the body may be a structured, lawful phenomenon with universal features, not just a random neurological glitch. It hints at a subtle anatomy, an energetic structure that connects our physical and non-physical aspects, a map of the soul's journey that we are only just beginning to rediscover. These vivid, life-altering accounts of astral projection and the silver cord point to a profound and mysterious aspect of the human experience that defies simple, materialistic explanation and invites us to consider that we are far more than just our physical bodies. One of the most radical and paradigm-challenging aspects of these experiences is the suggestion that these non-physical realms are not always solitary journeys. The vast majority of dreams and OBEs are intensely personal experiences. However, there are rare but significant reports of two or more people meeting in a dream or an OBE, and then independently recalling the same shared details upon waking. Imagine two close friends who live in different cities. One night, they both have a lucid dream where they meet on a specific beach, have a detailed conversation, and notice a particular ship on the horizon. The next morning, they call each other, and without prompting, recount the exact same dream, down to the details of the conversation and the ship. Such accounts, while anecdotal, directly challenge the idea that consciousness is a purely internal phenomenon, sealed within the confines of an individual's skull. They hint that consciousness can, in certain states, intersect and interact with others in a shared, non-physical environment, a collective reality. This raises mind-bending questions. Are there shared dreamscapes? Is there a dreamtime realm that multiple people can access and experience together? This idea resonates with the concept of a collective unconscious, as proposed by Carl Jung, a shared reservoir of human experience and archetypes. Perhaps in dreams, we are not just exploring our own psyche, but occasionally tapping into this collective field. But if we are having these incredible journeys every night, why don't we remember them? Most of us wake up with only fleeting, fragmented memories of our dreams, if we remember them at all. This may be because the waking brain is not properly equipped to store or translate experiences from outside its normal physical parameters. Think of it like trying to play a high-definition Blu-ray disc on an old VHS player. The information is there, but the hardware isn't compatible. The waking brain, with its focus on linear time and physical survival, may act as a filter that allows only a few fragments of these multidimensional experiences to pass through into our conscious memory. However, the effects of the journey often remain, even if the memory of the journey itself is lost. You might wake up with a feeling of profound peace you can't explain, a sudden creative insight that seems to come from nowhere, or a feeling of deep connection to a loved one you dreamt about. These are the footprints of the soul's journey, the emotional and energetic residue of experiences that the conscious mind cannot fully recall. The forgetting may be a necessary mechanism, a way to prevent us from becoming overwhelmed by the sheer vastness of non-physical reality, and to keep us grounded in our day-to-day lives. But the gifts of the journey, the healing, the insight, the sense of connection, often manage to seep through the veil. Our modern understanding of physics has revealed a world that is far stranger and less solid than it appears. The seemingly solid table in front of you is, at a fundamental level, more than 99.9% empty space. The tiny particles that make it up are not solid little balls, but shimmering fields of probability, existing in a state of potential until they are measured or observed. This discovery from quantum mechanics echoes an ancient philosophical idea that the material world we perceive is not the ultimate reality, but a kind of illusion or projection. If reality itself, at its most fundamental level, is this fluid and probabilistic, then why should we assume that consciousness is rigidly bound to a single, solid form? Perhaps our consciousness, too, is more fluid than we imagine. The great philosopher Plato, in his allegory of the cave, described prisoners who had spent their entire lives chained in a cave, watching shadows on a wall cast by a fire behind them. For them, the shadows were the only reality they knew. Plato suggested that the philosopher is like a prisoner who is freed and steps out into the sunlight, glimpsing the true reality that lies behind the world of shadows. Perhaps our nightly journeys when we leave the body are like a brief unchaining. We are temporarily freed from the cave of our physical senses to glimpse the deeper, more fundamental reality that lies behind the illusion of the material world. In these states, we might be experiencing reality at a more quantum level, a level where the rigid distinctions between self and other, space and time, begin to break down. This could explain the strange, non-local qualities of dreams and OBEs, the ability to be in multiple places at once, the instantaneous shifts in scenery, the fluid nature of identity. We are not just dreaming up fantasies, we are experiencing the inherent fluidity of existence itself, a truth that is largely filtered out by our waking consciousness. If these nightly journeys are a natural and universal part of the human experience, as history and modern accounts suggest, then they must serve a purpose. Nature is efficient. It doesn't typically create complex, energy-intensive processes without a good reason. So why would we be designed to have our consciousness separate from our bodies every night? Perhaps the most important purpose is integration. During the day, we are bombarded with a constant stream of information, experiences, and emotions. Sleep might be the time when our consciousness withdraws from the chaos of the external world to process and make sense of it all from a higher, more holistic perspective. In the dream state, we can run simulations, explore different emotional responses, and integrate our daily experiences into the larger tapestry of our lives. Another key purpose could be healing. Many traditions believe we have not just a physical body, but also subtler energetic layers, an etheric body, an emotional body, a mental body. Physical illness often has roots in imbalances within these subtler layers. By leaving the dense physical body behind, our consciousness may be able to interact directly with these energetic fields, restoring balance, clearing blockages, and facilitating a deep and holistic healing process that is not possible when we are fully identified with our physical form. And perhaps the most profound purpose of all is preparation. Many spiritual traditions teach that life is a school, and one of the most important lessons we are here to learn is how to navigate the transition of death. From this perspective, our nightly out-of-body sojourns are rehearsals. They are training sessions that familiarize us with non-physical environments and with the feeling of existing without a body. Each night, we practice the art of letting go, of detaching our identity from our physical form. These nightly rehearsals prepare us for the final transition, making the ultimate departure of consciousness from the body a familiar, natural process rather than a terrifying and unknown end. It transforms death from an annihilation into a graduation. One of the most philosophically challenging and personally transformative aspects of an out-of-body experience is the question it forces you to ask. If I am floating up here looking down at my body, then who is the I that is doing the looking? Our very language reveals a deep, intuitive separation. We don't say, I am a body. We say, I have a body. We don't say, I am a thought. We say, I have a thought. This implies that our true identity is not the body or the mind, but the consciousness that possesses and observes them. Most of the time, this distinction is subtle, but an OBE dramatizes this separation in the most undeniable way possible. It provides direct, experiential proof that you are not your body. You are the timeless, silent awareness that witnesses the body, the thoughts, and the world. Many who have these experiences report that their sense of self, their feeling of being me, is not diminished outside the body. It is amplified. They often feel more awake, more intelligent, and more real than they do in their physical form. This suggests that our true essence is this core of pure awareness, and the body and the ego-mind are temporary vehicles, or costumes that we wear for our journey in this physical dimension. This realization is the foundation of almost all spiritual and mystical traditions. The discovery of the observer self, the witness, or the Atman. Our nightly journeys, whether we remember them or not, may be a constant reminder of our true nature, a nudge to stop identifying so strongly with our temporary physical and mental forms, and to remember that we are, in essence, beings of pure awareness. Ultimately, the exploration of whether consciousness leaves the body during sleep does more than just challenge our ideas about dreaming. It fundamentally expands our entire view of the cosmos and our place within it. It moves us away from a cold, mechanical universe, a collection of dead matter governed by random chance, and towards a vision of a vibrant, multi-layered, and intelligent reality. In this view, the universe is not a collection of objects, but a vast ecosystem of consciousness. Our individual minds are not isolated biological machines, but temporary focal points, or whirlpools, in a universal ocean of awareness. Our nightly journeys are not just psychological events. They are our chance to dissolve back into that ocean, to explore the vast, interconnected web of consciousness that underlies all of existence. We are not just human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Each night, when we surrender to sleep, we are opening the door to mystery. We are nightly voyagers, cosmic travelers reconnecting with the infinite source from which we came. And each morning, we return to the shores of our waking lives, subtly changed, carrying within us the silent echoes of the mysteries we have touched in the deep. This exploration into the nature of our own consciousness is perhaps the greatest adventure we can undertake. It doesn't require a spaceship or a submarine, only the courage to look within and ask profound questions about the experiences we have every single night. What do you think? Have you ever had a dream that felt more real than reality? Have you ever had a lucid dream or an experience that made you question the nature of who you are? I would love to read about your own experiences and thoughts in the comments below. Let's continue this conversation together. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey to the frontiers of consciousness. I wish you profound peace and insightful dreams. And if you enjoyed this deep dive and want to explore more of life's greatest mysteries, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support allows us to continue asking these important questions.